All right, so finishing up this section on basic defense techniques. If you've been following my videos recently, I gave you some movement drills, slipping, bob and weave, and then some hand techniques you can use, the catch, the parry, where you just gotta punch by. And then in my last video, I talked about elbow covers, which can be used against punches, but also can be used against kicks. If somebody decided to come with a head kick, you could do this high elbow cover, and then you could drop your elbow if they're coming into the midsection. But what happens if they decide to kick you low, to kick you in the leg, which nowadays leg kicks are a pretty common thing. So you're gonna use your leg as a shield. So if somebody's coming in and they're going low and they're going right for your leg, you don't want to reach down with your hands. There's this tendency when we don't know, don't have knowledge of techniques and we're beginners to reach down. I was guilty of this, to kind of reach down to try to block that kick or maybe possibly grab it. But what happens if I do that? I leave myself wide open to get kicked in the face. And maybe they're good at kind of faking and I think it's going low and they're really going high. I wouldn't want to take a kick in the face, that's for sure. So to deal with those low kicks, we want to use our leg, our lower leg, as a shield, basically from the top of the tibia down to the bottom of the shin. And if we get into our fight stance here, ideally, we would like to use the front leg if we can. We lift that front leg, it kind of closes off my body, right? So I'm not an open target. So that works well if I'm using my front leg. And also, notice I have to shift my weight to my back leg. I can also counter with my own kick if I'm in that position, because I could reach them because it's my front leg. So that's another thing to think about. If I use my back leg and I bring it through, notice how it squares up my body and it kind of opens me up as a target. Now that being said, maybe I've thrown like a cross and my opponent moved to the side and they're throwing a kick and my weight shifted to my front leg, and the best I can do is just bring that back leg up to protect myself. So there's some cases where you would use the back leg, but ideally the front leg is best for this. And then basically I'm in my fight stance, and if that low kick's coming in, I want to turn my leg towards that incoming kick. Now, sometimes, you know, you're just going to take force, a direct hit, force on right on your leg, on your lower leg. And but if possible, it's best if I can kind of move with it and catch it and kind of parry it a little bit. But that's easier said than done when a kick's coming in at full speed. But ideally, if you can kind of dissipate some of the force by guiding it by, just like, remember I taught you that parry on the punch where I just catch it and guide it by. The same goes for that kick. If I can do that instead of just taking the direct hit right on my shin. But ultimately, your shins do become more conditioned to it and you can handle more of an impact. But I don't know if you've ever seen, like in some of the MMA fights, there have been people that have broken their legs. They've gone for the low kick and then the person did the shield and the other person's leg has broken. So it's pretty gruesome, so I don't want to talk about it. Anyways, but you just practice lifting different angles. That's how you add it in. And make sure you would do it on both sides, right? And then every now and then maybe add just a back one. Maybe you're off balance, but I would focus mostly on that front leg. And then if somebody was coming in and they're very tricky with their kicks and they're throwing the kick and you're a little unsure where it's coming in, you can always lift that knee high and drop your elbow a little bit too to kind of give you a full cover, give you a full shield. So, you know, sometimes people can be pretty tricky and it looks like it's coming in low and then they can switch it real quick and go high with it. There's people who can kick like that are real athletic and they can just do some amazing kicks and really trick you. So there you have it. It's just that leg shield. So now you can incorporate it into your practice. I would just do it where you get in your fight stance and practice trying to just keep this kind of, I haven't mentioned this before, but you always, if possible, it's best to kind of keep this soft focus, I would say, or where I kind of have, you can use my peripheral vision and kind of see everything and not just zoom in on one thing. Obviously, sometimes we're targeting and we do zone in on something specific, but you know, kind of trying to keep this full awareness. So like if I'm here in my fight stance, I want to get used to kind of shielding and still keeping my eyes, my field of vision up, and not looking down every time I do that, because then you might, maybe they fake you out and they throw a punch. So that's something to keep in mind. But I would just practice in your fight stance, and then you can start incorporating it into your shadow boxing, right? Like, so you're throwing some combos, some kicks, ooh, and then a shield, and then a parry and catch, and then a side kick, and then a shield, and you're moving around, and all of a sudden, now your toolbox is very full. You have a lot of techniques to use. Just throw it into your shadow boxing. Practice. That's how you get good at it. All right. So that finishes my defensive technique intro. And from here, we're going to move on to weapons, specifically the stick. So be on the lookout for my upcoming video.